Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Hare Krishna, my name is Lakshmi Priya, and welcome to the series dedicated to this year's theme, Invest in Women, for the 2024 celebrating the Sacred of Feminine by the ISKCON Vaishnavi Ministry. So today we have the great opportunity to hear from Vaneshwari Mataji, who I will introduce shortly. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, Krishna describes various ways we see him in this material world. And in verse 34 of chapter 10, Krishna talks about 7 feminine qualities, namely fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. So for this campaign celebrating the sacred feminine, today we will discuss the quality of fortune. So now I would like to introduce our speaker for today. Vaneshwari Lakshmi Devidasi is a disciple of His Holiness Jayapataka Goswami Maharaj. Her family has been a part of the San Diego ISKCON community since the early 70s. She and her siblings grew up in that community, spending summers in the temple and serving the deities of Sri Sri Radha Giridhari. She received her Bhakti Shastri degree in 2011 and completed her Bhakti Vaibhav coursework. She is also an ISKCON Karuna Care chaplain. Now, as a part of her duties in New Govardhan, she is the coordinator of the Krishna Kids Sunday School and is also the co-facilitator for the San Diego Vaishnavi Sangha. Her additional duties include cooking, deity service, and book distribution. So thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for taking out the time out of your busy schedule and share your wisdom with us today. So now, before we begin, would you please chant the invocation prayers for us?
Yes. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Jayapataka Swamini Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Vande Shri Gurum Tinatarinam Paramananda Madhum Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So I would like to start off with our first question. So in Bhagavad Gita 10.34, Krishna says, I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. So can you please describe the definition of fortune here? Because often when we hear the word fortune, we refer to it as opulence or wealth. And like when one has wealth and luxury, we call them fortunate. So can you please explain like what is real fortune and who is the real fortunate?
Okay, so one thing I want to point out, if you look at the purport of that verse, Srila Prabhupada actually describes that a man who has these qualities is considered fortunate, right? He talks about a man. So when he says these feminine qualities, one thing is that in Sanskrit, different characteristics have different genders. So these all are the feminine gender. So it doesn't mean that they're only female qualities or those that are possessed by female, but they are feminine qualities, maybe in a sense subtle qualities that anybody can have, male or female. So that's one thing. So fortunate in many different ways. Srila Prabhupada explains that somebody who has a good wife is fortunate. Somebody who has a good son is fortunate. Somebody who has opulence is fortunate. So yes, these are all different types of fortune. But for us as devotees, what our fortune is, real fortune, is the spiritual fortune, which is the fortunate having the fortune of being given Krishna consciousness by Srila Prabhupada. There's a pastime, which my Guru Maharaj refers to many times, that when he was in the Ardha Kumbha Mela, think it was in 71 or sometime around that time. And Srila Prabhupada was explaining that it is by performing very many pious activities and austerities and penances that one comes to Krishna consciousness. Only the fortunate come to Krishna consciousness by performing all these different things. And a senior devotee, Guru Maharaj explains, raised his hand and says, Guru Maharaj, says, Srila Prabhupada, I look back at my life. And as I look back, I don't remember doing any austerities, any penances, or anything like that. Then how did I get this Krishna consciousness? And Srila Prabhupada said, I have made your good fortune. So that in itself explains what is our fortune. We are fortunate because we have been given this knowledge of Krishna consciousness. We are fortunate because Srila Prabhupada looked at us and said, here, I'm giving this gift to you. And we are fortunate because if we take this gift and cultivate it and share it, then that's how we increase our fortune, right? That's how that fortune. So that's how I see fortune and how we are fortunate.
Yeah, this also like glorifies Prabhupada like a lot, like because of his like determination that he has to like spread Krishna consciousness around the world, and he wrote so many books for us, and he gave us like all the fortune to be Krishna conscious, and yeah, we should really thank Prabhupada for that.
Yeah, and that's where the gratitude comes in. And how do we utilize this fortune, right? Miserliness. What is miserliness? When you're keeping it to yourself, right? But when you share that fortune, which is what we do, we're distributing and stuff, that's what's called, showing the gratitude to Srila Prabhupada for what he's given us.
So, moving on to our next question. So, in the instructions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he emphasizes that spiritual fortune is essential for sincere practitioners of Bhakti Yoga. And he emphasizes that without the grace and mercy of the Lord and his pure devotees, one cannot make substantial progress on the spiritual path. So here he's kind of saying that fortune is just not like an attribute, but like it's also like a quality that one can develop. So how can one develop this quality and use it in the service of the Lord?
Well, that's similar to what I said before. How do we develop that? By sharing it. So the thing is that, the more knowledge and wealth, these things, they are only beneficial to us if we share it. Knowledge kept to yourself, wealth kept to yourself is neither beneficial to you nor is it beneficial to the world. That's what Srila Prabhupada talks about, miserliness and being kripana, right? So and also having this body and using it in Krishna's service. If you don't, that's miserliness. So to cultivate this attitude of fortune is just that. We increase the fortune by sharing it with others. What is it? Sharing is caring, and it's more, as it says, as it benefits at the world, it also benefits you, right? So in this way, the way we can cultivate this is by sharing the knowledge and making other people fortunate, right? Then the fortune spreads.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of pastimes or like of like events where Prabhupada used to tell his devotees to like maybe sometimes stop following their like he's one time told this devotee to like if he can't find anything that doesn't have onion or garlic to eat, it's okay to eat onion and garlic just to preach, the holy name of the Lord. So that kind of shows like the significance of like how Krishna consciousness is so important because that's the instructions he also got from his guru, right?
Right, yes.
So for the next question, here we have an example, a great Vaishnavi, Queen Kunti. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, she's praying to the Lord. She says, My Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable percentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So how do Queen Kunti's prayers highlight the significance of understanding true nature of fortune? And then what lessons can we learn from a reflection on like material opulence, like she talks about, and the dependency on the spiritual or supreme Lord Sri Krishna?
Yeah, so Srila Prabhupada explains many times in the purports in Srimad Bhagavatam that many times, you know, these benefits of good education or great wealth can be impediments to Krishna consciousness, and not for everybody, but many times. I mean, if you think about it, it's when we're in trouble that we really call to the Lord, right? When things are going pretty well and we're riding high, we're like, okay, things are okay. And we tend to put him in the back of our mind sometimes. And we as devotees, I mean, even Queen Kunti's prayers, why is she requesting for these bad things to happen? Because she doesn't want Krishna to be in the back of her mind. She wants him to be in the front of her mind always. She wants him always there. So, in that same way, when you have wealth, when you have prosperity, things are going okay, you might tend to forget Krishna. He might come into the back. And so that's why he's saying that people who are distracted by their fortune, who are in the mode of enjoyment, enjoying material nature, enjoying material life, they might not turn towards Krishna. So that's the understanding. But that doesn't mean that we can't have fortune. If we do have a fortune, if we do have a nice house, we do have money, we can use that fortune. We can use those the different things that we have in the service of the Lord. But it takes a very determined devotee and a focused devotee to not be distracted by those things. So that's what I think she's explaining in that, why, not that it's bad. Having money is not bad. Having a nice house is not bad, but don't be distracted by it. And that's a lesson for us. Don't be distracted by what you have, but use it in the service of the Lord.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about because, like in Mahabharata, we see that there's so much difference between Duryodhan and Yudhishthira. Like they both had like wealth and opulence, for at a time at least. That Duryodhan just like used it for his sense gratification, and then there was Yudhishthira Maharaj who was like using that same wealth for like benefit of other people and everything.
Yes, yes.
So we also see that in like order to develop a quality or do anything in like devotional service, we have to also like we need two things. We need individual effort and the mercy of the Lord. So, but sometimes we can like also like totally rely on mercy, right? Because we're like, oh, we have to, we need Krishna's mercy, but then we just end up not doing anything by ourselves. So, how do devotees aim to balance the concept of individual effort and the mercy of the Lord in cultivating
Yeah.
spiritual qualities?
Yeah. Well, this is, I mean, obviously Damodar Lila in essence, right? Um, it's, how do, we want to have a deep desire to love Krishna, and the thing is, it's when we are sincere, we have to try our best. See, the thing is that good things don't come easy. Okay. And we do, and even in material Nate, even in the material world, if something comes easy to you, if something's free, do we value it? No, we tend to like take it for granted when things come easy and things come free. It's only when we struggle for something and we appreciate it when we get it. So if we really, really want Krishna, then we need to really, really work for him. Okay. Even if you take a normal material relationship, between a man and a woman, same thing. They want to be wanted, right? So in that same way, we need to understand Krishna wants to know if you really want him or not. There's so many distractions out there. Do you really want me? then, and when we show that we really want him, we're sincere and we try. And the way we show we're sincere is by trying our best. That's how he knows. We might not make it. It will be a struggle, but he'll come running. If we show him we really want him and we're sincere, he will come running. So that's how it is. You have to show him you really want him.
So is that why we have to, like, especially as devotees, like I see there's like many, many great devotees, and there's still like have like they still have to go through like so many difficult problems in life. Like sometimes they're even worse than like material people would like face. So is that like a way that Krishna would want us like to like get closer to him?
I think there's a couple of things there. So first of all, I think that things happen because there's purification, there's transformation, and there's glorification. So how that works is when we're going through difficult times, it purifies us. A diamond is originally a piece of coal, and under all that pressure for so many years, it becomes a diamond. In similar way, in order to polish us and perfect us, we go through difficulties. And then also there's also the reaction to past activities that we need to suffer through, and that is one thing. Pure devotees is for glorification, because look at how they transcend all those different difficulties and continue that process. I mean, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj is a perfect example. With all of his health difficulties, how he marches on, that in itself transforms so many people who watch him. People think, how is this person doing this? There must be some power to the mantra, right? So it glorifies him and it transforms other people and draws them closer to Krishna. And, we need to understand, and this I will tell you because in all my years, a mother and a grandmother, being a mother and grandmother, so many difficulties have come in our lives. As devotees, we people may think that as devotees, nothing bad happens. No, actually, things happen to devotees also, but are they bad? Because what we find is that we tend to come closer to Krishna, and we need to understand that whatever happens, good, bad, or ugly, Krishna's trying to get us home. That is the ultimate purpose of everything that happens. And my mom always says, it's all right. Krishna's in charge. Anything that happened, it's all right. Krishna's in charge. And I guess that's the mantra that we chant, that Krishna's in charge and it'll be all right. So, so I don't know if that answers your question, but, that's what why difficult things happen and what kind of a mindset we need to have when we're going through these difficulties. I find that's what helped me. It's hard. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt because it hurts still and you suffer still, but you just hold on. You just hold on and say, it's okay. Krishna's in charge. And that's how you work through things.
Yeah, that makes like a lot of sense why Krishna would like why we have to like face problems a lot. But then it could, I mean, there's like two ways to this, right? Either your faith is gonna get stronger or like you're gonna stop believing in Krishna because you're like, oh, he gives me like so many problems. So like how can one maintain that faith in the Lord despite
And
facing
this
a
is
problem?
another fortune. This is another fortune that we've been given. And what is that? Is devotee association. Um, there's that example, and I think Srila Prabhupada used it also, that there are geese that are flying into the south during the winter, right? And they go in a V formation. And what happens is there's a head geese, right? Head goose who's flying. That goose does not fly the whole way. What happens after a while is that goose goes back and another one takes its place and he starts leading for a while. And this is what they continue to do as they're flying south. Why is that happening? Is because he gets tired. and he may falter. So he moves back and another one moves forward. And as a group, they fly home. Similarly, we as devotees, advanced, what people say, you're advanced, it doesn't really matter. We're all in the same boat. We're all in the same disease state, maybe a little more than others, but we're all diseased, right? We're all struggling. But if we know there are people behind us, and if we know that if we get tired, we can move back and just follow and somebody else will lead, that gives us hope, and that gives us support, and that gives us protection. This is what we need to really, really understand. We cannot do this alone. Srila Prabhupada did not want us to do this alone. That's why he created a house in which the whole world can live. That's why he created these connections amongst devotees. Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction talks about, right, all those things, sharing of gifts, receiving of gifts, sharing of prasadam, sharing of confidences. What is he talking about? These loving exchanges that happens within relationships, right? You can only have these loving exchanges if you have relationships. You can only have relationships if you have connections with other people. And that's what will support us, is this devotee association, because we can't do it alone. And so I say, when you're floundering, when you feel like you're sinking, you ask for help. You put your hand out and said, help me. I mean, in the Alcoholics Anonymous, why do they have these mentors? What are you supposed to do when you're struggling, when you want to take that next drink? You call your sponsor and say, help me. And so that's what we need to understand, that we are all, in a way, addicted to material nature, right? We're addicted to material nature, to material enjoyment. Accept the fact, but we want to get out, we want to get help. So we need to be able to, reach out to our devotee associates, to our friends, to say, hey, help me. And in that process, we have to maintain confidentiality, compassion, love, and a a space for people to come together. Okay.
Yeah. This also kind of like brings in individual effort again. Like if you want to be part of like a community, like a Vaishnava community, you're going to have to like put in efforts from your own self. Like you can't, especially with the ego, like there's like a lot of like, people are egoistic, so they're like unable to really fit into Vaishnava communities. But like being in like being a part of the Krishna consciousness like movement, it's really important for us to be humble, and in order to actually like, thrive in that community.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for an example of like facing um like problems in life and suffering, I was thinking of Draupadi, the wife of Pandavas, like
Mhm.
how when Yudhishthira Maharaj, gave up, like he lost his kingdom and his wealth and everything, and he even lost his brothers and his wife. And she was being, disrobed in like the middle of the whole, in the like in around her relatives, like her own people, like the people she knew, and no one came to help her. But then that's when her faith in the Lord, like I think describes her fortune, like how she's so fortunate to um, have faith in the Lord even after what happened to her was like immense suffering.
Yeah, and I mean, that was also a test for her, because she was holding on um for herself, holding on for herself for very long, and then she finally says Krishna. So that her fortune is that she was able to surrender. Just imagine that whole mood. And hers was such a faith that she knew there was no other person. There was no one else that could save her. Only Krishna could save her, right? He was her only support. And so her, in a sense, her fortune was her faith, right? That she completely trusted that he was the only thing. There was nothing else that could help her. And she was able to let go and completely surrender unto him. And of course, he protected her. And I think that's an example for us too, that even when bad things happen, Krishna is there. Okay. We may not, we may think that, well, he should have stopped, he should have stopped even the disrobing before. Like, why did he wait until the end? We don't know what Krishna's plan is, but we need to understand that he loves us. He does love us, and he does want us home. So that is the way we, keep the faith and keep that strength, is keep believing he wants us home, whatever happens. And and is this unfortunate thing happened to me because of something I did in my past? And to tell you the truth, when I'm in that kind of situation, what I pray for is says, maybe I'm doing this is happening because of something I did, and I know that you're protecting me, but I'm still scared. And I still need you to give me courage. And that's what I ask for. Give me the courage to have the faith that you are protecting me. It's almost like Guru Maharaj says, um, that you have to cry like a baby for his mother when you're chanting your rounds. And if you can't cry like a baby, then you need to cry that you can't cry like a baby who's won his mother. And if you can't cry, that you can't cry like a baby, then you have to cry that you can't cry. And it keeps going on and on and on. So it's kind of like that you just say, it's hard, Krishna. It's tough for me. And you got to help me. And I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And I, go to Sri Sri Radha Giridhari and I said, you're putting me through the ringer, or I don't know what, but it's hard. And please protect me. Please give me the courage, you know?
Yeah, it's just a way to help us overcome our obstacles and like remain firm in our devotional life, I guess.
Yeah.
So, moving on to the next question, do you have like examples of where Prabhupada like glorified the quality of fortune in his female disciples?
Well, I mean, there's a quote that's always quote is cited about during Rukmini Devi Dasi's um, initiation, when he said that woman is a goddess of fortune, and she should be treated like the goddess of fortune, and all women are like goddesses of fortune, and they should not be misused, but should be honored and like this. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about that example, and I was thinking about, you know, when you cherish something, when something is worth a lot, valuable, because that's what we're talking about, right? That she's a goddess of fortune means she's valuable. So what does that mean when something is valuable? When something is valuable, you don't lock it away exactly. You want to encourage these women. You want to um, empower them. You want to make them um, great, qualified. See, so how do we do that? And it's by encouraging them to do their best, to be their best. If they're good at certain things, then encourage that. If they're, you just don't want to put them on a pedestal and worship them. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about basically have them be all that they can be, right? That's what that means, to be to really cherish somebody and cherish something that's valuable to you, is to encourage them to be all that they can be. So whatever qualities or talents or traits that someone has, those need to be encouraged. They need to be empowered. And we see that in Srila Prabhupada's example, because he had so much confidence in his female disciples. He had them opening temples. He had them giving class. I mean, in India, in front of his godbrothers, he was doing this. And what we need to understand, that what society in India was like at that time, and what it still is. Women don't come up front and speak very often, especially not in front of such an esteemed, audience. But he encouraged his female disciples to go, open temples. Who in that day and age, who opens temples? Even advanced men don't open temples, but women, he was encouraging his women disciples, his Vaishnavi disciples to open temples, to lead class, to lead kirtan. So this is what is the prime example. We don't, quoting quotes is one thing. Srila Prabhupada talking about that is one thing, but his example of how he pushed his women disciples forward, how he encouraged them in real leadership roles. This is what we need to look at. This is what we need to see. And this is what exemplifies what Srila Prabhupada felt about his female disciples.
This also kind of shows like Prabhupada was acting like, I guess, a role model in the situation, how this act of his also like tells like devotees now that like women or Vaishnavis should not be like suppressed, and they should have like equal opportunities to advance in their spiritual life, because in some places we still see that they're not able to do certain things or perform certain like pujas or something.
Yeah, empowered and encouraged. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so why is it important to invest in Vaishnavis? Like, how does it help them grow in their devotional service, like in their bhakti?
We're, again, that example, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of a bundle of sticks. We are stronger together than we are individually, right? You can break one stick, but you can't break a bundle, right? So if we can empower our sisters by encouraging them, by giving the confidence that you can do this. I'm as I said, I'm the Vaishnavi, I'm the Sunday school teacher, Sunday school coordinator. And what I have found is that there are so many people, so many women, so many people in general, but so many women who want to be engaged. There are devotees who have so many talents, but they don't know how to utilize them in Krishna consciousness. Like, where do I fit in? The biggest thing is that devotees across the board, men, women, children, everybody has so many talents, so many gifts that Krishna has given each one of these souls, right? And it's our responsibility to identify those gifts, identify those talents, and say, you can do this. Utilize this in Krishna consciousness. You do this. As we encourage them and they move forward, we ourselves become encouraged because we see their blossoming. So, when you've been in the movement for a long time, we tend to get a little bit cynical and a little bit kind of stuck in a, rut. But when we see, and we see these devotees, these young kids or these other newer devotees that come to Krishna consciousness, when we see them flourish and blossom in their Krishna consciousness, it reminds us of our first time and when we first came to Krishna consciousness and how we felt. And that joy, that excitement of, oh my God, this is wonderful. We remember that and we get re-energized. And so I said, the reason why that I stay on the path is because of the children that I teach, because watching them blossom and flower, or even any of the other people, new devotees who come and you see them and how they just, grasp that whole process of Krishna consciousness and are just enjoying it, then you're like, yeah, now I remember why I was here. And I remember it again. And it's just like, it revives all over again. And I'm going to give a material example. But when you go to a wedding and they're going through their vows, they're going through whatever, whether it be a Western wedding or an American or an Indian wedding. They go through that whole process, and you're sitting there, you're watching, and you watch that wedding, and then you remember when you got married and all the excitement and all the stuff that was going on there. It's a way of almost like renewing. It just renews that energy in a similar way, but in a much more spiritual way. When we see the blossoming of these children or these new devotees coming, then we also become empowered, enthusiastic, and determined to continue. Keeps us going.
So Mataji, you kind of brought up like kids in Krishna consciousness, and when I was introducing you, it seemed like you were also in Krishna consciousness growing up. So could you tell us like your experience, like how you felt probably like different from others when you were growing up in Krishna conscious?
So when we first came to San Diego, it was just a storefront. There were no deities. The deities came, I think, in 75. And it was a very small temple. We were the only Indian family. And we would go every Sunday without fail. My dad would take us to the temple, no matter what happened. Sunday, we'd go to the temple, and we would be there for the whole program. And we grew up there. I mean, we were little kids, I was what, I don't know, 10 or something. And we loved it because it was just a fun place to be. That's how it started out, a fun place to be. When I got older, at one point, my parents had a conversation with Srila Prabhupada, and my mother was very sad being in the United States. She did not want to be here. She was very foreign for her, and so she wanted to go home. And she told Srila Prabhupada that, and he told them, "Well, you need to, have Krishna in your house." So he told my parents to have an altar, and you all had to have arti every day in front of the deities. And so we started doing this, and that became a part of our lives as a tradition. Before, my mom would only light the lamp in the house and do an offering in the morning, but this became a full-on arti and class and everything. So that started when I think I was 10, and went on for the next, I mean, until my mom passed recently. So, in that house. So that's what established it for us. And then during the summers, my dad would send my sister and myself to stay at the temple. So I wanted to my friends were having slumber parties, right? I said, "Can I have a slumber party too, Nana?" And he said, "Yeah, sure. You can slumber at the temple." So so we had a slumber party at the temple. And so my sister and I would stay there with the brahmacharinis, and we would take care of Krishna's hair. We would do the beading for the backdrops. We would go on Sankirtana with the ladies. That was the most amazing time for me. It was it was all, I mean, this is what connected me to the temple. This atmosphere of, hanging out with the girls, hanging out. They were about probably like 10 years older than me, right? So anywhere between 4 to 10, 4 to 8 years older than me. So it was just all fun. It was the most amazing time for me. That's, I think, what planted the seed for me. So now as a teacher, that's also what I want the children to have is, yes, they learn verses. Yes, they learn the rituals. I mean, they do that. There's that, but Krishna consciousness is about love. Krishna consciousness is about love for Krishna, love for Srila Prabhupada, and love for his devotees. That's what the essence of Krishna consciousness is. And all those other things are just supposed to help us connect with Krishna and to get that love. So, as I said, it's very important that we don't forget that. I don't know if I answered your question. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. It kind of also like brings in fortune like again, like how kids like in Sunday school right now, they're so fortunate to be in
Yes.
Krishna consciousness like since their childhood, rather than like others who find out about Krishna consciousness like in the future. But then it becomes really hard for them to like get used to like, especially with the food, like the no meat eating and no gambling and everything, like the four regulative principles. But if we're fortunate enough to like be in Krishna, like have Krishna conscious parents actually to like lead as an example in your life, it's really helpful. So
Yeah, helpful. Yeah.
yeah. So can you like kind of describe the role of parents in that, like for in
Um,
educating children?
I want to say that, um, and this is as a grandmother, okay, because um, I think it's really grandmother meaning, of course, I'm a mother also, but I think what's really, really important as I've grown older, what I've understood is that being the example is most important. I think one thing is being the example, and I've learned this because of the mistakes I've made, not because I'm like that I went through it without any problems at all, and and I'm a banner or anything like that. But out of experience, I want to say that most important, I think, is allowing the children to grow naturally, organically in a way, and to encourage, encourage. We tend to discourage, or no, no, no. Don't do this, don't do that. And I think more important than that is actually to encourage them and to how do I say this, highlight those things that are positive in them and say, oh wow, you're really good at whatever. You can use this in Krishna consciousness. Would love this. And that's the thing that's very important for little children. I think sometimes coming from a very Orthodox family, we tend to focus a lot on rituals, and that can be stifling for children. Children are naturally devotees. I mean, children are naturally pure, okay, generally. And kids that are born in this community have an extra special place. I mean, Srila Prabhupada even explains these are not ordinary children. These Vaishnavi children are not ordinary children. So, I mean, that's one thing. The other thing we need to also remember is they are not our children. They are not our mini-me. We're not to try to make them all that we weren't, you know. Our role and responsibility is to act as their support, their guide, and encourage them in their process. And, like I said, accentuate all those things that they can do in Krishna consciousness. And then be the example. And also understand that there will be mistakes, they will have missteps. And just because they are born in a Vaishnava family, just because their parents are, very advanced, whatever, doesn't mean that bad things don't happen or mistakes don't happen. But in spite of all that, if we can exemplify the fact that Krishna loves us regardless of the mistakes we've made, then they can overcome those obstacles, overcome those difficulties, and ultimately maintain their Krishna consciousness. Because, they'll, like I said, I know from, there'll be missteps, but as long as we can get back on, as long as we encourage them to get back on the path, we can do this. I'm here for you. Then that's what's important. And what's also very, very important is just listening. And this is the biggest lesson that I've learned is when our children come to us to tell us something, whether it be a problem, whether it be whatever it may be, it's really important for us to listen and just listen to what they're saying and try to understand what's underneath what they're saying and not try to give them advice, not try to fix the problem. Just try to just be there and give them that space to open up their hearts. As a Karuna Care chaplain, our understanding is that we are not fixing people's problems, nor are we giving them advice. Our understanding is that Krishna is within their heart, and we're just giving them a place to unburden what's in their heart, what's in their mind, what's bothering them, whatever. Once they've let it out, it allows them to hear Krishna within their heart. So, as I said, this is after many, many years of experience, many, many mistakes, but finally understanding that Krishna's in charge ultimately, and we just need to make the space for him to be heard.
Yeah, this like parents have a great impact on like children's lives. And this kind of also made me think that um if women are empowered and like women and men in like Krishna conscious or like the community have equal opportunities, for like it's gonna also set like a good example for like young Vaishnavis growing up in their families, seeing um their parents being equally, like being able to do spiritual practices like equally. As
Yes. And I
Yeah.
and I also want to expand a little bit. Now, when we're saying now we're talking about spiritual practices equally, yes. One thing we need to understand, man's psyche, women's psyche is different. But what we need to understand is there's a balance between them, right? So as parents, we need to understand we're partners. And as partners, it's almost like a company, and I don't want to say like a company, but we're trying to together as partners, we each have our strengths. Okay. So a woman may have certain strengths and a man may have certain strengths. So when somebody says equality, it can be misunderstood. As far as spiritual life goes, we're all souls. We all have the same um, the same ability and the same right to be devotees, whatever that means, being devotees. When we're talking about in this material realm, I think we need to understand that there are women's, in any kind of a marriage, you divide the responsibilities equally. Doesn't mean that whatever a man does, a woman has to do. That's not really, that's not the understanding. The understanding is we're partners. We're partners, and we're partners in raising our children. We're partners in as devotees, as part of the Hindu ceremony when they do the Saptapadi. It even says in there, Dharma as uh, as what? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Right, right. So we walk on the path of righteousness, fulfilling these desires, earning a living, ultimately for moksha or liberation. Of course, ours is as the Pancha Purushartha, which means, Krishna conscious bhakti yoga. But ultimately, as partners, we're supposed to help each other on that path, right? That's what the whole point is. So when it comes to equality, I don't want people to think that we have to do everything a man does or a man has to do everything. It's not that. It's like the need of the hour, whatever strengths you have, whatever you're good at, you bring that to a relationship. We work together with our respective um, respective talents or respective gifts or respective, whatever power we have. I'm trying to think of the word, I can't think of it. But whatever we have, we bring it together as a couple, and then as a family, in order to progress on Krishna consciousness. So that's what's really important. And that's really, really kind of, has to be very carefully understood. Not just that just because he's doing that, I'm going to do it too, or just because she's able to do it, I'm going to do it too. That's ego. That's ego in there. So you got to really careful. We got to be really careful about the ego in this kind of thing, right? Understand Krishna's in the center. That's what we're working for. Whatever it takes, whatever you have, what I have, let's bring it together and continue on this path towards Krishna.
Wow, that was a wonderful answer, Mataji. That was, yeah, it was great listening to like how you answered the questions with your own experience and everything. Is there anything you would like to say or add on to it?
No, I think I think I've said it all. I like I said, I try to, I mean, like I said, I share what I know, and I hope it, as I said, Krishna's in charge, so you know.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mataji. And I guess we're just going to end here now. And as we're ending the session, I would just like to remind the devotees to check out the rest of the campaign by our ISKCON Vaishnavi Ministry. Thank you and Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.